Hey, what is going on, everybody? I am excited today to be joined by Parker Van Dyke. I said your name right, correct? Okay,
Got it.
sweet.
Perfect.
I normally I ask people before we start recording, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I got this one right. Um, and we're going to be talking all about not only your journey. I'm excited for you to drop a little bit of really, really helpful advice for young kids and parents who are trying to navigate the world of recruiting, and also an opportunity to get better at your camp. I did not prime you for this, but we are going to play the intro, and then when we come right back, we'll jump into our interview. Sound good?
Sounds perfect. I'm excited.
All right, let's go. This is the Utah High School Hoops Podcast, your source for sometimes informative, but always entertaining coverage of the Utah High School Hoops scene, with your host, Adam Peak. All right, so Parker, the first time that I ever heard your name, because I was mentioning before I'm not from you, like I didn't grow up in Utah. I
Mhm.
thought, this is the deep cut I was telling you about. Is this the Jack Taylor of the Powder League? Are you familiar with Jack Taylor from Grinnell
Oh,
College?
Jack Taylor. Dang, I'm disappointed in myself. I don't know if I
No, it's
know.
I told you it was a super. It's I went Division
That's a
three
deep cut.
basketball, but okay. So
Um.
Jack Taylor
Oh,
back in like
no wait. Is he the guy that scored like 90 or 100 points in a game?
he scored like 138 points or something like that in one college
That,
basketball game.
okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Um,
I'm so. Now that you say it, and I think about it, I remember that moment. Yes, but I wouldn't know. I didn't know him by name.
yeah, no,
But I
I told
didn't
you.
quite score.
What's that?
I said I didn't score quite as many points as he did.
Yeah, how much you put up a ridiculous amount of points though in a Powder League game.
Yeah, it was 85.
I mean, I guess it's not. You were still 50, 53 points. Can you imagine scoring 53 more points than what you scored? That's crazy.
No, I will say the crazy thing is though is I only scored 4 points in the first quarter.
Oh,
So I scored 81 in 3 quarters. So I was like, dang, if I would have had 10 or 12, maybe if I would have had like 15 in the first quarter, that's 100 right there. So, but another 53, I don't think could be done because that game was really special. One, because I wasn't really missing. I was shooting crazy, but also like every time down the floor, my teammates were just setting me screens and giving me the ball every possession. So like, I don't know how many. I can't remember how many shots I took total, but I don't think my teammates took very many shots as a whole. Like
no.
it was all about just giving me the ball. So
This dude, by the way, went 52 for 108. He was 27 for 71 from three. He hit
oh
27
wow.
threes, 27 to 71. Uh, geez.
I mean, I
Anyway,
can't believe it's impressive that he got that many shots up in one game.
yeah, they won
Let alone
107,
scoring that much.
179 to 104 was the final score of that game. Um, anyway, I just remember it because it was a big deal, and Kobe like shouted him out as well
Yeah.
on social media. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Good
And
reference.
so thank you. Thank you. So you were born and raised in Salt Lake City. I'm sure there's people out there who already know your story. I told you I'd probably ask some dumb questions, but so where did you play in high school? All that stuff. You're in the G League currently, is that right?
Yeah. Just finished my first season in the G League.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what was your
So
what's your upbringing like?
yeah. So yeah, born and raised in Salt Lake City. I guess even starting before high school, I was very fortunate to play on a really good team all growing up, and with some really good coaches that really set the foundation for pretty much everything in my life. And so we were Salt Lake Metro was our team name,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
shout
still a
out
very
to Dave
yeah
Hammer.
Dave Hammer. Yeah, so Salt Lake, he was the one that Dave Hammer started Salt Lake Metro, and it's still a very prominent program in the high school ranks today. It was kind of rare. He kind of allowed us to use that name as youth. And so that youth team from about 3rd to 8th grade, I played with kids like it was me and the Lone Peak trio, Nick Emery, TJ Haas, Eric Mika, Connor Toulson, played with, Talon Shemway, Brandon Miller, who was also a really good player. And so we were kind of that group. We were just like kind of a stacked group of kids, all from the same age group, that we played all the way, from 3rd grade all the way up to 8th grade, up until we got into high school. And we're able to travel nationally and play, win national tournaments, and played against some of the top talent of the time. So the same guys around our age were guys like Julius Randle, Jabari Parker, just to name a few. And so as I look back, I mean, I kind of had, me and my teammates, we kind of had like a fairy tale childhood when it comes to basketball, because we were just very fortunate to play on a really good team with all of us together, and then traveled all around the country, played against the best competition, and then just had some really good coaches that really set the path for us all to then go on and play at the Division I level and beyond. So that's kind of where it started. And then high school, I went to East High School here in Salt Lake City, and that was really fun for me. One thing I'll say is, when I was growing up, I was a big East fan. And so it was a dream of mine to play for like my local school. And you don't see that a lot these days now, where there's so much open enrollment, where a lot of the kids will just go to the best school in their area, rather than kind of going to their like hometown school. And that was something that was really important to me to stay, because I could have gone somewhere else. I could have gone somewhere that was a better basketball program or something along those lines. But it was special for me to stay and go to East High, go to the school that I had wanted to go to, that I grew up cheering for. And so I had a lot of great experiences and a lot of great time there. And, it's the High School Musical school. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Were you, were you in High School Musical? I know a lot of local people were like, oh, there I am right there.
Yeah, unfortunately I wasn't. It actually finished right before I got there. But I know a lot of people, some of my teammates that were older than me, I know a lot of people that were actually in the movie. So I just missed it. But I just, there was something special to me about staying, playing for kind of like your high school team, regardless of, it wasn't the best program at the time, but I had a lot of fun being able to play there and bring some success. We were able to have some success there that they hadn't had for a long time, and, play with some of my closest friends, the kids that I grew up with, and things like that.
I love that. And,
so that was
that's
important to me.
I won't necessarily, well, I mean, we can kind of talk about it. We'll talk about this more later, but your basketball camp is going to be at East High School. Is that correct?
That's right. And so that was kind of important for me to have my camp at East as well, kind of keep it in a place that's special to me. And to me, it just made sense, like to have my, the Parker Van Dyke camp at East High School, which was one of the, where a lot of my, basketball career, a lot of that started there at East.
Yeah.
So that was important for me to have it there.
And so after high school, maybe we can pause here for a second. What was it like? Mm-hmm. What was the recruiting process like for you? And maybe this is a great time to kind of shed some helpful advice for players. And, honestly, a lot of parents listen to a podcast. Most players, sadly, just don't take the time they don't listen to podcasts. They certainly don't watch full games of basketball, sadly. But listen to a full podcast. So players and parents, like, what was your recruiting process like, and what would be some advice you would have for them?
Yeah, good question. So you make a good point. It's parents need to be just as involved in this, even maybe more so than their own kids, in the sense of the kid makes the decision, let the kid make the decision, but the parents have to be very informed on all of this as well. And so, yeah, hopefully some parents kind of hear this. Talking about my specific recruiting process, it was great. It was a lot has changed since I was getting recruited. But just talking from my own experience, I had a great time. It was nice, the first couple of years, my sophomore and junior year, it was kind of nice to be wanted and to hear, get calls from coaches and things like that, and go on visits, and kind of just soak it all in and not worry. At that time, I wasn't worried about making a decision. I was just kind of enjoying the process. And that would be my advice a little bit to parents and kids at first. Like, don't commit too early. I would say try to, enjoy it and give everyone that deserves it, give them a fair shake.
Mhm.
So, and then for me, I towards the end of my junior year, I started actually to get pretty overwhelmed. I had narrowed it down to like 4 schools. So at the time, it was Utah, Utah State, Arizona State, and Stanford. Those were kind of my final four, and they were starting to kind of put a little pressure on me, like, okay, we've recruited you for a year or two. Now it's, we need to make a decision, so we can either plan to have you or we can move on. And I remember at that time I started to get really overwhelmed, and I'm like, okay, I want this to be done. The level of communication was ramping up in terms of like how much they could communicate, they could contact me. So I was ready to be done. And so it's kind of a long story how I came to my decision, but kind of tying into what I was saying about East is I was a local kid. I was a Salt Lake kid, and I was a Utah fan, born and raised. So I grew up going to all Utah basketball and football games. And it came down to not only where the program was at the time, Coach Chris Koviak had just taken over and we were trending upward. But it was also, I couldn't see myself going somewhere else in Utah. And I especially couldn't see myself playing against Utah.
Mm.
And another big thing that I thought of was kind of life beyond basketball. And I just thought, how going to Utah and being there would help me beyond basketball. And so that's kind of why I made my decision to, again, stay locally, be kind of the local kid, and the kid who grew up a Utah fan, played as a Ute, and then, still a fan after that. And
Yeah,
so that was kind of my decision there for getting recruited.
that's
Um,
cool. I just want to
yeah.
jump in because I really love what you said about enjoying the process, and I think especially like, I mean, I'm a parent. I have 5 kids, and a thing I try to tell parents a lot is like, you certainly should not be getting stressed and anxious about all of this because it's not your decision. But what you can
Mhm.
do is be educated, be supportive, and find joy in it, right? Like, have fun. I mean, it's such a tiny little minuscule part of
Yeah.
your child's life, especially over the life of their entire, childhood and adulthood. It's like if you have a kid who is good enough to be recruited at any level for any sport, that's a blessing. Like what an incredible opportunity for you to connect with your own child and to support them. So I loved that you said that, and I think it's awesome that you decided to stay in your hometown. I mean, again, there's not a lot, you don't always see that, right? Everyone kind of
Mhm.
wants the grass is always greener somewhere else, and um
Yeah.
it's cool that you, and were you there for the entirety of your collegiate career?
Yeah. So I graduated from East in 2013, played my freshman year. And so that year was like DeLon Wright's first year. So I got to play with DeLon Wright. It was the year Kyle Kuzma came in. And then I went on an LDS mission for 2 years, and then came back and played my final 3 there at Utah. Um, and so, yeah, great experience. I could go on forever about how much that meant to me and all of that. If I could just add like 2 more things, kind of
Of
advice for
course.
recruit. One I think is a general advice, and the other one's for local guys. And this is obviously like, local Utah high
Yeah.
school kids. The first thing, I would say, I kind of had a rule that I would tell kids, because this is what I experienced. Never commit or sign when you're on a visit to a campus. Now, there's exceptions to every rule, but from what I've experienced, like whenever I was on a visit, so if I was on Utah State's campus or Arizona State or Stanford or Utah, wherever I was at that moment, that's where I wanted to go.
It was awesome. Yeah, I was
It
like, "This is the coolest
was
thing ever."
awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wherever I was, it was like, oh, I'm for sure coming here. because you're infatuated with it. They're showing you all the bells and whistles. You know, they're treating you like you're a king, and so you're all very caught up. It's very high, kind of emotional. And so my advice was always like, enjoy that moment, but then come home, come back to reality a little bit, and then make a sound decision when you're kind of away from the element, if that makes sense. And so,
I love that.
because sometimes people will make highly emotional decisions based on, oh, well, I'm at this location. It's so great. Like you're saying, the grass is greener. Everything's better, but it's just they're portraying it that way.
Yep.
And so you want to come back and like look at it from a less emotional state before you make that decision. And then the other thing I would say to local kids getting recruited is, you know, now there's a lot of money involved, which wasn't involved when I was getting recruited. And so that's an awesome thing. Like there's there's life-changing wealth out there for good players, and they deserve it.
Correct.
But I would say don't make the decision solely on money, and make sure you still make the decision considering all components of the offer. If that, you know, and there's a lot of ways I could go down here because there's coaching and things like that. But the one thing I would want to say specifically to like local guys is there is something special about being the local kid, and staying within your state. Now, I would prefer that the best players go to Utah, but I understand that some people, you know, there's BYU fans, there's Utah State fans, you know, they're all over. But there's something special about growing up in Utah and then staying in the state and going and competing and having success at a Utah school. You're able to kind of create a legacy that's bigger than even what you're able to do on the court. Because now I'm not saying this is, you know, you got to go where the right place is for you. But there's been times when high-level Utah players go out of the state and then they kind of get forgotten.
Yep.
No matter the success they have. And for someone who experienced it, I was able to stay here, have a good career at Utah. But I'm telling you, people look back at my career and they think it was way better than it was. but it's just because I kind of am remembered because I was the kid who was here, and, you know, I'm a Utah kid and I'm still here and I'm still involved in the program to a certain extent, and kind of created a legacy that is, for me, is cooler than any other success I had on the court. And
That's awesome.
When you leave the state, there's a lot of good things about it, but you might be giving up that opportunity. And so my advice to all local kids is just make sure you consider that when you make your decision.
Yeah. And, you know, I would even flip that around a little bit and say, to any of the coaches that might be listening or watching, or just in general, I think that there are kids here in Utah who even get overlooked by local, by the local schools. And so, you know, if you look at like, I know you mentioned you didn't, you know, you looked at Utah State, but like I went to Colorado State, so I follow the Mountain West pretty closely. You look at what like Utah State has done. They've withstood so many different coaching changes and largely built their program with Utah kids. I mean, sure, there are transfers that are going to come in any program, but, you know, even if you go down and look at some of the success that BYU had last year, like in what Richie Saunders did. So it's like, I would say it seemed the biggest thing that I hear from parents who have kids that are like Division I kids is like, I don't understand why the local schools aren't recruiting my kid. There could be a very good reason for that, but I'm not saying that about my own child, by the way. I'm just saying like this is a generality that I do hear. So you know, I think that there's the kids who are the high level players that are going to be, you know, high major players. It's like, yeah, look at BYU, look at Utah, look at heck, Weber State had, I think this is true, the last NBA draft pick from a Utah college was Dylan Jones at Weber State. So I think that's accurate. I don't, it'll change this year, obviously, because Yegor will get drafted. But you know, it's not, you can still go play at a very high level, play professionally. In your case, you know, get paid to play and be in the G League. And you can do all of that and still go to a Weber State, Utah State, obviously Utah and BYU get a lot of the love, SUU, there's a lot of Utah Tech, like heck, Snow College is the best JUCO in the country right now. So there's a lot of
Yeah,
opportunities for kids here in Utah. I could go on and on about that. Can
there
you
is.
talk a little bit because I was kind of getting down this pathway here of like what your path was. So public high school, go to the U, you do your mission, you play at the U. You don't get drafted in the NBA draft, right? But like you've kind of followed a really unique path to get to where, I mean, you're in the G League, right? It's an insanely high level of basketball that's being played in the G League. I mean, you're one call up away from lacing it up with Victor Wembanyama. So, uh, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a crazy career path from East High School to where you're at. Um, what was that? You don't have to go through each stop, but maybe just kind of highlight some of the stops in that journey. And was there, I guess also like, was there ever a time where you were like, I'm just gonna go sell insurance in Utah? Like, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
this is too much for me.
Yeah, countless. It has been a great journey. And man, I'm so grateful for my journey. I think another point of advice I would give to players maybe that are a little bit beyond even high school and college is, um, just be extremely grateful for like your journey. It's unique and it's special and it's going to be different and it's not going to be as seamless maybe as other people's journeys, but it's embrace kind of your journey. And mine was not easy. Um, but when I finished at the U, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it, is kind of what I'm saying. When I finished up at the U, I was definitely not done playing. I wanted to continue to play professionally. A great thing about basketball is there is a lot of opportunity to play professionally because there's good leagues about everywhere in the world.
Yep.
And the one thing that was tough about me about getting started, I knew I would have to go to like Europe to kind of get started professionally. The one thing that was tough about my journey is I came out in 2019, played a little bit in Mexico, but then COVID hit. And that really delayed my start. So there was about 2 years there where I played very little basketball. And throughout that time, I was thinking, I was like you said, like, man, this may this may not be in my cards. Like, I feel I was so motivated and I felt like I still had so much to give to the game and I had so much more to prove. But this may just not be my path. And so I started doing other things. I really amped up coaching and training local kids. And I even had my own podcast for a little bit. So I was doing a lot of
Hey,
that work.
I'm looking for a
Yeah.
co-host. You want to jump in and co-host this bad boy?
Yeah. Hey, no, I'd love to. I love doing this stuff. And so I
Awesome.
ran my own for about a year and a half to 2 years. And I was, like you're saying, I started to explore other options. But then some doors I just kind of kept kept working on my game. It's like I was home and I wasn't playing, but I was still training as if I was going to. And some doors opened. And I had 3 really good years in Europe. I had 2 really good years in Germany and 1 really good year in Spain. And those were great experiences. And each of those opportunities came when I was kind of ready to be done. I was like so close to being done, but then those opportunities came. And sometimes it's funny how that happens is right when you're about to like quit. If you just kind of hold on for just a little bit longer, opportunities will present itself as long as you're working hard and you're doing the right things. And so opportunities in Europe opened, and then that ended up leading to this opportunity in the G League last year. And so looking back, I'm like, man, I'm so grateful I didn't stop during COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful I didn't stop during some of the grind years overseas. Like I'm glad I kept going. And so then this past experience playing for the Austin Spurs, playing in the San Antonio Spurs organization, like it was, in a lot of ways, it was like another dream come true, because I was playing at a level that I never thought I would get to. I was playing in the States again. I never thought I'd be able to play basketball in the States again like that. So, man, it's been a tough journey, but it's been a great one, and it's all been worth it.
And I did not watch a lot of Utah Jazz basketball last year, but I'm just saying maybe the hometown needs you. I'll just throw that out there.
That would be the icing on the cake to
I know,
play,
that's what I was thinking.
you know, yeah, East High,
that'd be
Utah, and like within the Jazz organization would be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome. Hey, before we talk about your event you have coming up here to wrap it up, I did have something else that I thought was interesting. So you mentioned training as if you're about to play, and you are you're a strong, like you're a strong dude. You know, like when you see you play basketball, you're not like there's other basketball players who don't look like they lift weights, right? And this is something that
Mhm.
I hear a lot from kids is like I don't want to lift too much because it might, ruin my jump shot. I'm like, well, go watch Parker play. I don't think it's ruined his
Yeah.
jump shot. Um, do you want to maybe speak a little bit to that? Like, how much has like weightlifting been advantageous to you? I got to imagine playing in Germany and Spain, like these are grown men that are, there's an exceptional level of talent over there as well. But just talk maybe about like weight training as part of your journey. Because honest, just cards on the table, it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely
Yeah.
insane whenever I hear a player say like, I don't really want to lift because I'm afraid it's like, I'm afraid that if you don't embrace weightlifting, you will not play much beyond high school, if at all. But I
Yeah.
could be wrong. I never did. I mean, look at me. I'm not exactly.
So I will say, so just those kids that say that, they're gonna have an eye-opening experience when they get to college, because when you get to college, especially if you're at a high level, if you're at like a D1 or high level D1, like you spend so much time in the weight room. You probably spend more time in the weight room than you do in the gym.
Mm.
And so what my advice to high school kids is you don't have to go crazy, but I would lay a foundation. Like make sure you don't have to lift a bunch of weight, but I would lay a foundation of a consistent work in the weight room, and then making sure you just have a good foundation of just like simple weight movements. So then when you get to college, it's not just like it's not just like a huge shock that like, oh my gosh, how can I, I'm lifting so much. So it is extremely important. So it should be valued. But I also wouldn't stress so much about it where it's like, okay, I got to go put up a bunch of weight in the weight room as a 17-year-old kid. Like I was a scrawny little 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid in high school. But I just made sure that when I got to college, like I was, it just wasn't like so daunting about how much weight stuff we were doing.
Yeah.
So I'd value it enough to create a foundation, create a base, get some familiarity with it, get some consistency. So then you're ready in college.
Cool.
But then for me in the weight room, once I got to college, I had a great strength coach, one of my favorite coaches I've ever had at Utah, Coach Rock. We called him Charles Stevenson. He's one of the best in the business. He's at Central Florida right now. And I just loved working with him. And so I fell in love with the process and the weight room and how it made me feel on the court, and how I could see myself. You can make yourself a better athlete in the weight room.
Right.
I think everyone has limits, but you can improve your athleticism, strength, speed, quickness in the weight room. That's very important. And so now I'm kind of addicted to the weight room, honestly. Like I will still train in the weight room beyond my playing years because I enjoy it so much. And so I'm a little bit different. I really like it. And so I know guys who do it because they have to, but they don't love it. The last thing I'd say why the weight room isn't so important is, other than the things I said, like athleticism and just overall strength, is it helps prevent injury.
Yes.
It helps prevent injury, and especially when you get with a good strength coach where you're doing things that are basketball specific to help you on the court with court movements, but also help you, you do things with your ankles and your knees to prevent, the tweaks and, the injuries that you can get while playing. So this idea that you can't shoot because of that, or you can't move or anything like that, I mean, I don't think, it's nonsense.
Insane. Like I told someone, I was like, go watch the Houston Cougars play basketball and tell me that they can't shoot. I mean, like it's just whatever. I'm preaching to the choir. Well, hey, let's
Yeah.
wrap up here because I know I mentioned it earlier on. You're giving back to the community. It's awesome. You're at East High School. So tell me a little bit about your camp that you have coming up this summer, and how can parents know more about it?
Yeah, I'm really excited to host this camp. I've been running, neighborhood camps, and I've been training kids from third grade up to high school, really for the past 10 to 15 years. Even when I was in high school, I would run little camps for kids. I've been training kids all throughout the Salt Lake Valley for the last like 10 years or so when I was in college and post and whenever I was home for the summers. So I'm very experienced in it. And this is just the first time I'm doing like a huge camp kind of open to everyone. And I'm really excited, like I said previously, to have it at East High School, have it at my alma mater. And my goal is I have a very strong I have a strong passion in developing young players. And I feel like I was so fortunate with the coaches that I was raised with, the coaches I had in high school and AAU and in college and then in the pros. And so I just feel the responsibility to give that back.
Mm.
And to give that back to the community and give that back to the kids to help them have similar careers that I have been able to enjoy. And then one thing I would say I'd have to kind of toot my own horn a little bit on this. I don't like doing that. But one thing I think that has set me apart from other players I've played against or other players I've seen, one of my greatest strengths that I've always been extremely coachable. And I've been able to receive things from coaches and then not only apply them to my game, but then obtain them so then I can relay that message to other people as well. So at this camp, I will be taking all of those things, everything I've learned from the Spurs, all the way from when I was a kid. I'll be bringing all of that knowledge to the table to relay that and pass that on to the younger generation. And that's, I think, it's a different age. Today's basketball is different than the basketball I grew up in, but the values and the things that I was coached on to have success when I was growing up, those are universal. And I
Yeah.
think those apply at any time, at any place. And I see some of those things missing in today's game. And so I want to make sure that they're still there. They may be old fashioned or old school or whatever, but they still can apply.
I love it. Well, I'll make sure to put some links here in the show notes. I'll be promoting it on Instagram as well. When are the dates again?
Yeah, so it's June 23rd to June 25th at East High School. You can register. Probably the best way is to register through our Instagram. It's PVD Camps, and we'll probably put in all the captions and stuff like that. But there's a link in our bio, and that's the easiest way to register. One last thing I would say is, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so like one last thing I would say is, I have me and I've got a partner who's helping me run this. We do have a big vision for this. This isn't just a one-time thing. And so we have a lot of ideas that we want to do. One thing that we want to create is eventually that this camp becomes kind of an elite camp, kind of a camp that becomes invite only, where we invite the best of the best to come and compete and kind of make it the central location where all the best players can come in the summers and get trained by the best and train with the best to improve at the fastest rate. And so that's kind of one of the visions that we have. And I'm just really excited to kind of get it started.
That's amazing. Well, Parker, I appreciate you coming on the Utah High School Hoops podcast. I know I've learned a bunch. I hope that has been informative for everybody else listening. Make sure you follow Parker and also PVD Camps. Are you gonna be out running around the Powder League again this year?
I will. We've got the same team running back. I play on Team Burger. We won the championship last year, so we're gonna try to run it back, and a lot of fun. Definitely worth checking out the Powder League.
Yeah, going out and watch Parker get buckets. He's gonna try to break Jack Taylor's 130. No, probably not.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
That's gonna be the goal every night from now on.
Every night. You got to shoot 108 shots in one game.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on. Everyone go and connect up with him, and we'll continue to not only pull for you, but also thank you for giving back to the community. It's pretty awesome.